What is going on, my salty little home gymmers? Welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to be doing a review of the B52, specifically the B52 Pro from Major Fitness. And this is Major Fitness new and improved B52. We're going to get into all those improvements, and we actually have a special guest for this video. It's me. So it is my privilege to bring to you the premiere of the B52 Pro on this channel. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we're gonna get into is the assembly. Assembly, for the most part, very easy. Slightly on the time-consuming side, but not terrible. It took me about 3 hours. It should be noted that I've assembled a lot of these machines, so it does kind of go faster than me, than most at this point. So be expecting just a little longer. And please, like I always say, go get yourself a drill. If you're gonna hand tighten everything with those thin little wrenches that come in the boxes, that always come in these boxes for these type of racks, I can tell you it's gonna take you a lot longer. So if you don't have a drill, just go borrow your neighbor's drill. I'm telling you, it'll save you a lot of headache. Now I have to stop here and say that I'm just genuinely impressed with the materials in the packaging. Usually when I assemble a machine, I take out each part piece by piece, and I can usually tell at that point which one of these parts that I'm gonna complain about in a video. Man, I just didn't have any of that with this machine. Major Fitness's quality control is just outstanding, honestly. Their welds are great. There's no chips or nicks in the paint or coating. And this is my second machine from Major Fitness, so I saw this a lot with the Drone 2 as well. I saw the same thing there, just much more quality control than its competitors, and it's much appreciated. However, the only single thing that I will say needs a little improvement is these 2x3 end caps on these posts. Both of them came in broken, which wasn't a big deal to me. I didn't reach out to Major Fitness. I just simply went on Amazon, got 2 replacements. The 2 replacements that came in were very cheap and they were much better quality. So I went ahead and replaced those, hammered them in, and that's the only single solitary part that I have major complaints, no pun intended. Like I said, the quality control is just outstanding with Major Fitness. I can't say enough about it. It really seems like they care about what they send out. We're gonna do some comparison videos with this rack and other racks in the future, and I'll go into a little more depth on that in the future. I gotta be honest with you, this doesn't have anything to do with the assembly, but I just wasn't feeling the dark brick in the background. So I decided to fix that. Bet you didn't know I was a stonemason either. I need walls. Let's get into the specs a little bit. So the first thing I want to talk about with the specs is this rack is approximately 82.6 inches tall. Low ceiling, people, this is your guy. And most Major Fitness machines, I've come to notice, are a little on the shorter side compared to their competitors. Personally, I've never thought this is a bad thing. It also comes at a width of 78.7 inches wide. Its depth is 66.9 inches, and that's along the outside from front to back with those plate horns on the back. Now, usually at this point, I like to stop and do weight capacities, and man, it could just be me, but I searched that website from top to bottom for some weight capacities on things like the Smith and the front rack and things like that. The Smith bar, I'm not gonna get into what weight capacity I think it is because I'm gonna talk about that later in the video, but the front rack I will talk about, even though I am gonna, again, talk about it here in just a minute in the video. The front rack has been upgraded on the Pro to 12 gauge steel, whereas previously on the B52 standard model, your front uprights were 14 gauge steel. And on the B52 standard model, I recall the front rack weight capacity being 1,000 pounds. So I'd imagine this can hold a lot more than that. Man, this rack just really feels solid. I usually like to stop when I say the weight capacity and say, hey, if you're gonna exceed this weight capacity, you know, you're probably not watching this video anyways because you're a pretty big beefy boy. But honestly, I definitely see this rack taking some abuse. I didn't think much of it before it came here because I've used so many of these racks. They all tend to have a wobble. This guy, none. Now you have to understand that I am talking about the Pro model. I've never used the B52 standard, but in the Pro model at least, I definitely don't think you're gonna have any trouble with heavy lifting. As I said before, these uprights have been upgraded to 12 gauge steel. These are 2x3, not quite 3x3 as we're used to seeing on a lot of the beefier power racks. But in comparison, I will say that 2x3 just has a ton more stability than 2x2. I've done a ton of 2x2 racks on this style, and they're all just wobbly geese. The 2x3 adds a lot more stability, and like I said, with the amount of weight on this rack, as well with the plate stacks and that extra stability you're getting from that extra upright with the Smith machine, this rack is just a sound structure and it's very impressive. Your holes on the front are 1-inch holes. Another upgrade for this Pro rack, as opposed to the standard, the Pro edition, along with that 14 gauge steel improvement, you also have a lot more holes on the front of this rack. Each post contains 31, which is a huge jump from the standard B52, and that is just a nice touch. Major Fitness does have a lot of attachments of their own for these 2x3, because although the 2x3 is catching on a little bit with home gym companies, and to be honest with you, I think Major Fitness has had a major hand in making that popular. There aren't quite as many third-party attachments for the 2x3. Major Fitness has a lot of their own. I haven't gotten my hands on them. I can't speak of their quality. Eventually, probably am gonna do a video on them, but we just haven't reached that point yet. As far as front rack attachments go that you do receive with this rack, you have your dip bars, which on the Pro model have a nice sandwich grip, and they also have a locking pin on them. Little insert here because it's something I discovered after I filmed this. Although these dip bars are made pretty well, they are a little on the narrow side when you get in between them. I'm a pretty slender built guy to begin with. If I'm saying they're a little too tight, definitely something that needs an update here. And that locking pin and that sandwich grip is standard for all of your front rack attachments that come with this rack, including your J-hook. The J-hooks are pretty sweet. These J-hooks are honestly pretty good quality build, extremely impressive. And again, they also come with that locking pin, and they fit in there nice, and they lock into place, and there's just a lot of stability there. And last but not least, for front rack attachments that come with, we got our spotter arms here. Now, the next thing we're gonna talk about is a Smith machine. Now, the Smith machine seems to be the huge elephant in the room, as it should be. It's a major function in this rack. It's one of the reasons why you chose the B52 Pro over the F22 Pro. The first two things I noticed about the Smith machine bar. Number one, it's darn good quality. And I know I'm talking this machine up a lot at this point, but hear me out. The number one issue I have with these home gym Smith machines, even the most expensive ones I've had in this gym, I've had ones that outprice this one in my gym. The number one issue that I have with Smith machines on these types of machines is that the bars bend over time. A lot of times, a lot of effort's put into the rack, and these cheap, low tensile strength bars get put on the Smith machine. I've had machines in here that cost just as much as this machine here, if not more, that I'll leave, I don't know, 2 plates on both sides, and the bars bend within a few hours. A few hours. That's happened to me before. I'm not lying. So I don't think you're gonna have a lot of issues here because the quality of this bar is great, the plate horn's great. However, with that durability and that tensile strength comes the second thing that I noticed about this Smith bar. It's very heavy. Now, I realize that I'm not the biggest, beefiest beefer, but this bar's got a little weight to it compared to a standard strength bar. This Smith machine bar is not counterbalanced. It's not a counterbalanced machine. So you're feeling the bar's true weight, and I'd say that bar is probably about 55 pounds. I didn't have a chance to weigh it. It's nothing crazy. It really isn't. Just a little heavier than what I'm used to on this equipment. I mean, this thing is rock solid. The knurling on the bar isn't the craziest. There is knurling. You won't be peeling any potatoes with this knurling, I'm sorry to say. It's just kind of got enough there to let you know that knurling's on the bar. Now, as far as smoothness goes, these do operate on linear bearings. You definitely hear those little balls in there rolling around. But for the most part, it's pretty smooth. It's just kind of, you know, normal smoothness, which is okay. These rods are bolted in through the top, so the bar stays very still during your movement. All these Major Fitness Smith machines seem to be built the same exact way. Now, the major standout on the B52 Pro here, at least for me, this machine has a storage hook on the top for your bar. This is extremely appreciated. I cannot tell you how many Smith machine bars I have walked through and smashed my head on the freaking bar because I have it on the top hook and it's just not tall enough. The next thing we're gonna talk about, and man, I'm just so excited to talk about it because it's this machine's top feature. The B52 Pro upgraded cable system. The two upgrades, which I'm gonna speak more on here in a moment, one is obviously your selectorized plate stacks, which come on the Pro, and compared to the B52 standard, which come with a plate-loaded cable system. And then the other thing which is upgraded is your pulleys, which are upgraded to aluminum pulleys on the Pro, which compared to the B52 standard, which comes with plastic pulleys. Now, one thing we talked about on the Drone 2 from Major Fitness was its cable smoothness, which I talked very good about. I'd imagine the B52 standard, which I have not used, has those same plastic pulleys on it and probably does a pretty good job. But I'm telling you, if you're wondering that there's a major difference, no pun intended, between aluminum and plastic pulleys, there's a major difference. This cable system is outstanding. Before you buy, you definitely want to make sure your plate stacks are enough for you. So let me explain to you the amount of weight you're going to be able to pull with this cable system, which, again, compared to its competitors in this price range, is not a bad weight stack. So these weight stacks are 170 pounds on each side. They're both in 10-pound increments. However, they operate on a 2-to-1 ratio. Let me tell you, this cable's a smooth cable. The 2-to-1 ratio definitely works on this machine, but it's also gonna cut that weight in half. So 10 pounds is really gonna feel like 5 pounds. So take that with a grain of salt. I still think you're getting a pretty monstrous weight stack here compared to a lot of competitors in this price range. 95% of all users this cable system's gonna work for, and it's gonna work for good. All right, now that we've got all the major components out of the way, we're just gonna go around and talk about a few just extra features that this machine has, starting with the plate storage, which is gonna bring me to my first big complaint on this machine. And I use the word big lightly because this isn't really a big deal. I'm gonna complain about these weight horns. I can't stand weight horns being in the back of my multi-purpose cable racks. I can't stand it. Major Fitness always puts their plate horns on the back. And the reason that I'm gonna complain about it on the B52 Pro is because when we reviewed the Major Fitness Drone 2, the reason that we couldn't put the plate on the side was because the plate loaded mechanism for the cable was in the way. And those two components got in the way of each other. However, even though they got in the way of each other, we still got the option to put those plate horns on the side for whatever reason. Like I said, we ended up having to put them in the back, but for some reason, that option was still there. On the B52 Pro, there's no plate horn here. Instead, we have this nice, clean, flush plate stack. Zero interference if we wanted the option to put these guys on the side. And that's the only thing I'll complain about, because if you're like me, if you're trying to save space, this is for your home gym area. You want your machine as close to the wall as you can possibly get, number one. And it's just inconvenient to come around here and take plates off the back. Am I wrong about that? My reviews are an opinion game. So if you disagree, please let me know in the comments. It is nice to have that plate storage anyways when you don't have that plate storage. So I can't talk too much bad about it. And plus, like I said, this machine has just been so impressive on all levels that is just me nitpicking the little things. So take what I say with a grain of salt. Next thing we'll talk about is our bougie little pull-up bar here. And I say bougie because I'm a pull-up bar snob. And that's because I like pull-ups. And I like my pull-up handles to be like this with a nice comfy grip and lots of angles, and something that's not gonna tear up and I'm gonna have to tape in about a year or so. And that's also gonna lead me to your bands attachments. This also comes with a band attachment for your pull-ups, and also as well you have band attachments here at the bottom on the outside. You do have a landmine attachment down here. Landmine attachments on these racks are pretty standard stuff now. If you're unfamiliar with what a landmine attachment is, you put your barbell in there and you can do T-bar rows and your shoulder presses with the end of the bar, or your deadlifts, or whatever you can manage to find to do with a landmine attachment. Comes with a landmine T-bar attachment. We're gonna get into the attachments a little more later. So we're gonna talk about your foot plate here, because this doesn't just sit flat. There's 3 locking mechanisms back here to put this plate at 3 different angles. So half the time when it's in storage, I just kind of tilt it up and put it like that, so I don't trip over it. This foot plate obviously is for your cable rows or your lat pull downs, mainly for your cable rows. Speaking of our cable attachments, we got a few of them here. We got our short bar, mainly for our curls and things like that. And we got our lat pull down bar. And you also get these cable attachment handles here, bink. In conclusion, I'm in love. I absolutely freaking love this rack. We have done a ton of cable rack machines on this channel. With that being said, this rack does come with a bit of a steep price tag. And if you're asking me whether or not it's worth that price, definitely say yeah, it is. Just about everything on this rack is as perfect as it can be. This rack does not have a lot of flaws for me to talk about. I really wish it did, because it makes my videos a lot easier, because when I don't complain about a rack enough, people tend to think I'm advertising or something like that. To be honest with you, at this point, like I said, I kind of am. I'm a huge fan of this rack. I think this one's gonna stay in my gym for a long time. I definitely want to get my hands on Major Fitness attachments now and I want to compare it to some other racks in the same way we did other videos. If I've missed anything, which I'm sure I have, let me know in the comments, and of course, don't forget to subscribe.